Ethan Clark studied the console, his eyes fixed on the weak, intermittent signal. "We've picked up something," he said, his tone steady but filled with curiosity. The message was ancient, almost unintelligible, yet it clearly called for help. "Another derelict?" inquired Dr. Mira Patel, the ship's xenobiologist, looking up from her workstation. The crew of the Endurance, experienced explorers, had encountered many abandoned vessels, but this one felt different. "Possibly. But this signal is incredibly old," Ethan responded, brushing a hand through his hair. "We need to investigate." As the Endurance approached the source, the outline of a massive, decaying spacecraft emerged. The vessel's hull bore the marks of long-forgotten battles and centuries of drifting in space. Its design was unfamiliar, suggesting a once thriving but now extinct civilization. Ethan led the boarding team, which included Dr. Patel, engineer Jack Harper, and security officer Elena Vasquez. They moved cautiously through the alien ship's dimly lit corridors, their footsteps echoing against the metal floors. The air was stale, with only the faint hum of ancient machinery breaking the silence. "Stay alert and stick together," Ethan instructed quietly. They turned a corner and entered a large chamber, where a solitary cryopod stood at its center, its glass covered in frost. Jack approached the pod, wiping away the frost to reveal a young alien girl. Her features were delicate and serene, yet there was a haunting sadness in her still face. "She's been in there for a long time," he muttered, his breath fogging the glass. "Can we wake her?" Ethan asked, already knowing Jack's answer. The engineer nodded and began the revival process. As the pod's mechanisms whirred to life, the chamber's lights flickered. The alien girl's eyes slowly opened, emitting a soft, otherworldly glow. "Where am I?" she whispered in a language the translator struggled to decode. Dr. Patel stepped forward, her expression a mix of empathy and scientific curiosity. "You're safe now. We found your ship. Can you tell us your name?" "Ilera," the girl replied weakly. "My people, are they gone?" Ethan felt a pang of sorrow at her words. "We don't know yet, but we'll help you." Suddenly, the ship's systems surged to life, alarms blaring as its automated defenses activated. "We need to move, now!" Elena shouted, drawing her weapon as turrets emerged from the walls. Ethan grabbed Ilera's hand, pulling her behind cover. "Jack, disable the defenses," he ordered, firing at the nearest turret. Sparks flew as the bullets hit their mark, but more defenses activated by the second. Jack worked frantically at the control panel, deciphering the alien symbols. "Almost there, got it!" he exclaimed as the defenses powered down. The team quickly retreated to the Endurance, bringing Ilera aboard. Ethan watched the alien ship's lights dim once more, its secrets remaining largely hidden. "She's safe for now," Ethan said, turning to his crew. "But we need to understand what happened here and who, or what, destroyed her civilization." Ilera, resting in the medical bay, looked up at Ethan with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes reflecting a depth of emotion. Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. "We'll find out the truth, Ilera. You're not alone anymore." Ethan Clark stood in the medical bay, watching as Ilera slowly acclimated to her new surroundings. Her eyes, still reflecting the weight of untold years, met his. "We will help you understand what happened," he reassured her, his voice firm. Ilera nodded, though uncertainty shadowed her features. "Thank you," she whispered. "It is overwhelming." Dr. Mira Patel approached, holding a small device. "This translator should help us communicate more easily. It will take a bit to calibrate fully, but it's a start." As the device began to hum, Ethan turned to Jack Harper. "We need to access the alien ship's database. There might be logs or data that can tell us more about what happened to her people." Jack nodded, already deep in thought about the technical challenges. "I'll get on it," he said, leaving the bay with purpose. Ethan looked back at Ilera. "We found you alone on that ship. Can you tell us anything about how you ended up there?" Ilera's expression grew distant. "My people, we faced a great threat. An unstoppable force that decimated our world. I was put into stasis to preserve our history and knowledge. To wait for a time when help might come. Dr. Patel's brow furrowed. What kind of threat? Was it a war? A natural disaster? Illyra shook her head. It was a consuming entity. We called them the Void Wraiths. They appeared without warning, and our defenses were useless. Everything we knew, everything we were, was consumed by them. Ethan felt a chill. Void Wraiths? We've never encountered anything like that. Our knowledge of space is still limited, Dr. Patel said, her voice tinged with concern. If these Void Wraiths are still out there. Ethan's communicator beeped. Captain, we've got something. Jack's voice crackled through. You need to see this. Ethan and Dr. Patel guided Illyra to the bridge, where Jack was surrounded by screens displaying alien text and diagrams. I managed to access part of the ship's logs, he explained. These records detail the Void Wraith's assault on Illyra's planet. It's devastating. One screen showed an abstract representation of the destruction, cities reduced to nothing, and landscapes altered beyond recognition. Illyra's eyes filled with tears as she relived her people's demise. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. We will do everything we can to help. But first, we need to understand what we're dealing with. The bridge's atmosphere was tense as the crew absorbed the gravity of the situation. Elena Vasquez, the security officer, broke the silence. Captain, if these entities are a threat to other civilizations, we need to prepare. Our priority should be getting this information back to command. Ethan nodded. Agreed. But we also need to make sure Illyra is safe and that we have all the data we need to make a proper assessment. Jack continued to sift through the data. There's more. It looks like the ship wasn't just a stasis vessel. It was also a repository of their advanced technology and knowledge. We might be able to use some of this information to our advantage. Dr. Patel looked intrigued. Illyra, your people's technology, could it help us defend against these Void Wraiths? Illyra considered this. Our technology was advanced, but it failed against them. However, there might be aspects of it that you can adapt. My people's records should have detailed schematics and theories that you might find useful. Ethan felt a surge of determination. We'll need to study this carefully. Jack, focus on downloading as much of the ship's database as you can. Elena, increase security around the bridge and medical bay. We can't afford any surprises. As the crew set about their tasks, Illyra looked at Ethan with gratitude. You are risking much to help me. Ethan shook his head. It's what we do. No one deserves to be left alone, especially not after what you've been through. The ship's systems hummed softly as they worked, the ancient knowledge being transferred and analyzed. Ethan knew they were stepping into unknown territory, but with Illyra's help, they had a fighting chance. As they navigated through the data, the bridge's lights flickered, drawing everyone's attention to the main screen. A sudden alert flashed, an unknown vessel approaching at high speed. Ethan's heart raced. Brace yourselves, he commanded. We might have company. Illyra's eyes widened in fear. Could it be them? Ethan squared his shoulders. We're about to find out. The alert blared across the bridge, drawing every eye to the main screen. An unidentified vessel was approaching at high speed. Status report, Ethan Clark commanded, his voice slicing through the sudden tension. Elena Vasquez's fingers danced over her console. Unknown ship, closing in fast. No identifiable markings or IFF signals. We're being hailed. Ethan exchanged a glance with Jack Harper, who nodded and activated the comms. The screen flickered to reveal a harshly lit bridge and a figure clad in dark armor. This is Captain Oren of the Rexus Marauders. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Illyra, standing to the side, gasped. Pirates, she whispered, fear evident in her voice. Ethan stepped forward, his jaws set. This is Captain Ethan Clark of the Endurance. We're on a peaceful mission and have no quarrel with you. Stand down and we can resolve this without violence. Oren's grin was a cold slash across his face. Peaceful or not, you're carrying something valuable. We'll be taking it. Prepare to be boarded. The screen went dark as the transmission ended. Battle stations, Ethan ordered. Elena, deploy defensive measures. Jack, get our engines ready for evasive maneuvers. Ilera clutched Ethan's arm. They're here for the technology. If they get their hands on it, it could be disastrous. We won't let that happen, Ethan assured her. He turned to Dr. Mira Patel. Get Ilera to the secure room. We need her safe. As Dr. Patel guided Ilera away, the Endurance shuddered from the impact of a weapon blast. Shields holding, Elena reported, her voice steady but urgent. But we can't take many more hits like that. Jack's voice crackled through the intercom. Engines are primed, Captain. Ready for evasive action on your mark. Ethan weighed their options. They were outgunned and outmatched in a direct confrontation. Elena, set a course for the nearest asteroid field. We can use it for cover. The ship lurched as Elena executed the maneuver. The asteroids loomed large on the view screen, and the pirate vessel pursued relentlessly. Brace for turbulence, she warned as the Endurance weaved through the dense field. Blasts from the pirate ship continued to rock the Endurance, but the asteroids provided some protection. Captain, we've got a boarding party incoming, Jack announced. They've breached the outer hull near engineering. Ethan grabbed his sidearm. Elena, keep us moving. Jack, you're with me. Let's repel those boarders. The corridors of the Endurance were a blur as Ethan and Jack raced to the engineering section. They arrived to find a squad of heavily armed pirates forcing their way through the hatch. Without hesitation, Ethan and Jack opened fire, their shots precise and controlled. The pirates returned fire, forcing them to take cover. We need to seal that breach, Jack said, reloading his weapon. Ethan nodded, formulating a plan. I'll cover you. Use the emergency bulkhead controls to isolate the section. As Ethan laid down suppressive fire, Jack sprinted to the control panel. The pirates advanced, their weapons blazing, but Ethan's aim was true, taking down several of them. Jack's fingers flew over the controls, and the bulkhead doors began to close. We've got to go, now! Jack shouted, and Ethan fired a final shot before diving through the narrowing gap. The bulkhead sealed with a heavy thud, cutting off the remaining pirates. Ethan's communicator buzzed. Captain, they've withdrawn. Elena's voice came through. But they're not leaving. They're holding position just outside the asteroid field. Understood, Ethan replied, breathing heavily. We've bought ourselves some time, but they'll be back. Jack wiped sweat from his brow. We need a plan to get out of here and protect Ilera and the technology. Ethan nodded, his mind racing. First, we need to repair the breach and assess the damage. Then we'll figure out our next move. We can't let them get what they're after. As they worked to secure the ship, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that their challenges were far from over. The pirates were a dangerous threat, but the true danger lay in the technology Ilera's people had left behind, and the void wraiths that could still be out there. In the medical bay, Ilera watched the crew work with a mixture of fear and determination. She knew her knowledge was critical to their survival, and she was resolved to help in any way she could. The fate of more than just their ship rested on the decisions made in the coming hours. The Endurance shuddered as it emerged from the asteroid field. Ethan Clarke stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the pirate vessel still lurking nearby. Status report, he demanded, his voice steely. Elena Vasquez scanned her console. Shields holding, but we've taken some damage. They're still out there, waiting for another chance to strike. Jack Harper entered the bridge, wiping grease from his hands. Hull breach is sealed, and critical systems are stable. We can't take much more, though. Ethan nodded, deep in thought. We need a way to get out of here and keep Ilera safe. Ilera, standing quietly to one side, spoke up. There is a device on my ship, a cloaking mechanism. It might help us escape unnoticed. Ethan turned to her, intrigued. Can it be activated remotely? She nodded. Yes, but we need to access the ship's mainframe directly. Jack looked skeptical. That ship's a death trap. Those defenses are still active. Elara met his gaze with determination. I can guide you through. I know the systems. Ethan made a quick decision. Elena, keep an eye on that pirate ship. Jack, Elara, you're with me. Let's get that cloaking device. They suited up and returned to the alien vessel. The corridors were as dark and foreboding as before, but Elara led them with confidence. This way, she instructed, her voice steady. As they reached the mainframe room, the ship's defenses stirred. Jack worked quickly, bypassing circuits under Elara's direction. Almost there, he muttered, fingers flying over the controls. Ethan kept watch, his senses on high alert. Hurry up, Jack. We don't have much time. Elara placed her hand on a glowing panel, and the room hummed with power. It's done. The cloaking device is active. They hurried back to the Endurance, the alien ship now hidden from view. Cloaking device engaged, Jack confirmed as they entered the bridge. We should be invisible to their sensors. Elena grinned. Looks like it's working. They're scanning the area but can't find us. Ethan allowed himself a brief moment of relief. Good. Set a course for the nearest starbase. We need to report this and get Elara to safety. The Endurance moved silently through space, the pirate ship unaware of their departure. Elara stood beside Ethan, her expression a mix of hope and sadness. Thank you for helping me, she said quietly. Ethan looked at her, his resolve firm. We're not done yet. We need to warn others about the void wraiths and make sure your people's knowledge is preserved. As they traveled, the crew worked tirelessly to analyze the data they had retrieved. Dr. Mirapatel focused on Elara's health, ensuring she was stable. She's strong, Mira remarked to Ethan. But she's carrying a heavy burden. Ethan nodded. We all are, but we'll face it together. Hours later, the Endurance approached the starbase. The docking procedures were swift, and soon they were in the debriefing room with Admiral Tessa Grant. You've brought back quite a story, Captain Clark, the Admiral said, her tone serious. Ethan recounted their journey, the discovery of Elara, and the threat of the void wraiths. We need to prepare, Admiral. This threat is unlike anything we've faced. Admiral Grant leaned back, considering his words. We'll need to mobilize and start working on defenses. Your crew has done well. Elara's knowledge will be invaluable. Elara stepped forward, her voice steady. I will help in any way I can. My people's legacy must be used to protect others. Ethan felt a surge of pride. We'll stand together.